Hello everyone, I am in Leamington Spa, or Royal Leamington Spa, by the Grand Union Canal, which is right here behind me. Is the principal waterway that connects London with the Midlands. You can go all the way from here up to Birmingham or down to London from here. But the reason I'm here is because I used to live in this house up in the attic. This is where most of my work on Heidegger was written. This is where I wrote the book on Heidegger on Death and Being while I was a PhD student at Warwick, and I spent most of my time up here in this small attic or walking around Royal Leamington Spa, and almost no time at all on campus, which is an utterly soul-crushing, uninspiring Death Star of a campus built in the 1960s that is apparently meant to turn you into a corporate bug human. So I try to avoid that place like the plague and rather spend my time here in this beautiful old building from 1820, but I should mention that also the windows are from 1820, which means that when it's a bit when the weather guards show their force, you feel it quite a bit in these old houses. So anyways, yeah, I'll show you around Leamington just a bit, and perhaps you find your way here at some point. I'm now in Jeffson Gardens, named after Dr. Henry Jeffson, who initiated the spa treatments here in Leamington, and believed that the water here had healing effects due to the mineral contents. He treated the royal family, but he also treated the poor for free. He had plenty of wealthy clients, but also a heart for the poor. So this park, or these gardens here, were named after him, and I spent also a lot of time here reading. It is perhaps overall an unlikely place to ponder death, to read Heidegger, and to consider and think through the question of being in light of death. Or perhaps it isn't all that unlikely at all, given that what Heidegger also was concerned with was the question of how, and I'm looking at the ginkgo tree now, which was Goethe's favorite tree. You see here its leaves. Now the right behind me here, that Heidegger's concern was also, or perhaps it's implicit in his writings on technology and the fourfold, and something that has become explicit in my thinking through this and writing on this, and in what I'm trying to do with my work. How with and despite techniques and technology, how there could be another relationship with technology, but also how there could be a technology from what's already given, and I won't go too deep into this now here, that could release, unconceal something else, still a new, a different experience with being. And what you see around you here is a garden that is man-made to a large extent. I've come to the conclusion that the English spirit, the spirit of the English, is found in the poetry and in their gardens, in their parks. what you can see in many of the English gardens is a working with nature that lets nature have its reign, its own, just as Heidegger might say, its own physis, its own coming into its own, but it is steered, it is guided, there's a stewardship. But the stewardship isn't one that is absolutist. It doesn't try to dominate brutally and impose forms on nature that are impossible for it to maintain itself. So Jeffson Gardens as this kind of a sort of a place, perhaps let me see this, but also of course the idyllic countryside of England, which there really still is, with its hedgerows and its wonky fields that have not been straightened and made into perfect geometric shapes. When you fly into Germany, what you see is geometric patterns. When you fly into England, what you see is hedgerows and fields, trees in the fields, which also allows the water to find its own ways. There's less flooding because of that. The extreme flooding that we see places like Germany has a lot to do with the straightening of rivers, riverbeds made of concrete, the taking down of hedgerows around fields, etc. So there is something to the way in which the English, and I would say this as a guest, as a foreigner, so perhaps I'm overstepping boundaries here, I don't know, I don't hope I'm not, but I have often thought that if you're looking for their spirit, it is found here, which is also why I believe that British idealism is where philosophically this spirit should have moved towards. Thinkers like Collingwood, for example, and that the Russellian, Wittgensteinian, positivistic logic is a mistake and is destructive to the English spirit and is not really of it, I would say. Especially in the case of Wittgenstein, that should be obvious. But it should have gone a different direction, and it looked as though it was in the late 19th century and early 20th century. So the question is how that can be awoken again, how the objective idealism that is present, that you can see, this nature-focused idealism, that is very immediate in its own sense, that can also withstand the contradiction much more easily perhaps than sometimes the German spirit can. So perhaps this is some hint for you. In any event, it was around here also, in Leamington Spa, that I realize that being in the world, Daseins in der Welt sein, in the world being, as we could also maybe should translate it, is not theory, but is a real possibility, an actual possibility, a possibility that is enacted in our daily, everyday lives. So I am very grateful for my time that I got to spend here, which was a complete accident and happened purely by the contingency of the fact that I was awarded a PhD in scholarship at Warwick, and Leamington Spa was suggested to me as the more beautiful place around here where students move. So I heeded the suggestion and the council, so I moved here and found a very lovely flatmate in the canal house, as I mentioned before, and would never even have heard of the place. But I wonder where, without this place, my thinking would have gone, because it's not arbitrary where you think about something. If it were, then go write your PhD, go write your book on Kantian ethics at an airport lounge, or I don't know, a McDonald's in Bangkok, or perhaps place and people do matter and do actually have not just influence but genuine impact on our thinking and our thinking on the place. So, with this, I invite you maybe to come here and spend some time, but do spend it, if you do, as a guest, not a tourist. Come to see, come and wait to see what affords itself, and don't come with any expectations of pre-formated experiences that you want to have, or else you destroy it. You destroy the place that you are going to. To be men, not destroyers, said Ezra Pound.